Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with a video on Kasparov's endgame lesson. If you watch chess videos on YouTube, you may have come across the ads that Kasparov has there for his Masterclass series, and he has different ads. I made a video before on one of the endgame compositions he shows, the beautiful Queen G5 composition from Mitrofanov. It's video number 243 on the Chess to Impress channel, and he has another one, and that is this position. This is a screenshot of the ad, and you can see the position. I don't know who the composer is. Kasparov doesn't say it in the ad, and I haven't been able to find it out. If you know who the composer is, please let me know. And this video is about this incredible position. It's very, very beautiful, and it's nice to know that a 13th world champion also thinks so. Let's get into it. It's white to play and win this position. Kasparov in his ad shows it from the black side. I don't know why, but let me be consistent and show it from the black side as well. So in this position, black is going that way and white is going that way. So we're looking at it from the black side. So let's look at the position. What do we have? We have an endgame. We have a rook and knight versus a rook, and both players have a pawn. And that knight is hanging. Black is threatening to take the knight, and that would be, you would say, an equal rook endgame. But protecting a knight is not great, because if we protect a knight with the king, for example, then we lose that pawn. And we know that rook and knight versus a rook is a draw with good defense from black. So white cannot win this position if black plays it well. So protecting the knight will cost us our pawn, and that will result in a draw. Well, we can play our pawn up to make sure it does not get captured by the king. That's a possibility, but then black takes the knight, and we have that rook endgame. Is check, king e2, and this looks like a totally equal rook endgame, but we have to be careful. Of course, our rook is attacked now, and we cannot play the rook to h1, because then there is rook d1 check, and you have to take, and after king takes d1, it is clear that this pawn will go to queen, and this pawn will not, because the white king will easily control the black pawn. So after king e2 attacking the rook, there's only one good move, and that is rook f4. And that holds the draw. It attacks the pawn, and if you protect the pawn from behind, that doesn't really work because of king b2. And the rook has to go, and this game will end in a draw. And after rook f4, you can also play a5. But then rook a4 behind the passed pawn. You can protect the pawn with rook d5 and attack black's pawn, but it's clear that this game will end in a draw. So back to the starting position. We have seen that protecting our knight does not work because that will cost us our pawn on a2, and we've seen that playing a4, playing the pawn up, does not work either. That will also end in a draw. So what can we do? How can white win this position? Well, we haven't looked at all possibilities. We have looked at a4, but we haven't looked at a3, a2, a3, a small move. How can that be the solution? What is the difference? Well, let's have a look. Black now can take the knight, rook takes f1. Of course, if he doesn't, then white will protect that knight on the next move with a winning position. So he has to take, and then king e2 again. And we already saw the variation with rook h1. That is not good because of rook d1 check, take, take, and king b2. But there's a4, and the black king cannot stop the white pawn, while the black pawn is easily controllable by the white king. For example, f4, a5, f3, a6, f2, and then simply king e2, and white wins. Okay, back to the start again. We played a3. We have to take the knight with black, king e2, and now we saw that rook h1 is no good, but there is rook f4. Is this not an equal rook endgame? No, it's not. And we'll see why. White has to play rook b3 check. And if the king goes to a2, it doesn't really matter. Let's play king c2, because that's what Kasparov does in his ad for his masterclass. Black is attacking the rook, so the rook has to play, and the rook goes to b4. So that's why white had to play a2, a3 and not a2, a4. Because now that pawn is protecting the rook on b4. And this is very good for white, because black can now not avoid the trade of rooks, and that will give white a winning king and pawn endgame. This rook is more or less trapped. It cannot leave the 4th rank. It has to trade the rooks. If you, for example, go to g4, then white trades, f takes, and this is a winning king and pawn endgame. We can play a4, king b3, that king will not capture the pawn, a5, and the black pawn is easily under control by the white king. White wins here. And if after rook b4 you decide, instead of rook g4, decide to take on b4, we see the same thing. A takes b4, king c3 and b5. This pawn will queen, and this pawn is under lock and key by the white king. So we have the solution. White wins. Wonderful. a2, a3 on the first move. A true work of genius. I'd love to know who the composer is. If you know it, please let me know. A king not being able to stop a runaway pawn made me think of what happens a lot with children. For example, this position, white wins you with a4, and often you see small children trying to stop that pawn. King e3, a5, king d4, a6, king c5, a7, king b6, and then they say, "Oh, I almost got that pawn, I almost stopped it." a8 queen wins for white, and of course the black king did not almost stop the pawn after a4. This position is over, but children like to chase it and think they might be able to stop the pawn on time. Very funny. Hope you enjoyed this video. You may want to check out video number 243 with the other study that Kasparov shows on his Masterclass ad from Mitrofanov, the beautiful study with Queen G5. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel. Please leave a comment. And if you like the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. I'm doing there a series on viewers' games, viewers sending me their games by email. The link to the Chess to Progress channel is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.